with all the big calls on all the big races. Welcome back. It's time for another edition of What a Shout. Dave Orton, thrilled to be back in the seat with you. Brought to our sponsors, of course, Bet365. Let's have some fun this afternoon, shall we? Somewhere in the capital on a Friday. And it's been a busy week for racing, let's face it. All sorts of stories flying around. What will the ground be like at the weekend? This is the place you get the answers to your questions. We'll be doing all the big race previews coming your way. Ascot and Haydock we concentrate on. There's also a decent card in Ireland as well. What's going on with the Ryanair out there? We will find out, hopefully, after the 3:35 at Ascot, primarily. All right, then. Don't forget, this is a like, subscribe, comment and share show. And before I tell you who's with me and where we're going throughout the country, double guess for you. Drum roll, please. Don't forget, there's a members club offer out there for you at the moment, guys. 50% off your first 3 months, basically. So get involved, sign up to the website, log in. It's very easy. Here comes the advert. Stay ahead of the field. There you go. $19.98 per month. Digital edition. Look, you get all the early access. Of course, unrivaled, unparalleled breaking news. Guy that's sitting next to me knows all about that. He'll be telling you about it. You get all the spotlights, all the race replays free, of course. There he is, Tom Siegel. Even get him. All the premium stuff coming your way. Now's the time to sign up. If you're not doing it, all these festivals coming up and all that. New website, that's going swimmingly well all of a sudden. We're absolutely thrilled with that. We'll be talking about the app later on. There you go. Subscribe today then, Members Club. All right, without further ado. Yes. All right, I'll get on with it. Delighted to say, making his What a Shout debut, West Country correspondent James Stevens.
Hi Dave, okay.
How are we, Steve?
Yeah, very, very good. Looking forward to it.
Busy man as ever, aren't you?
Very busy this week. I mean, it doesn't stop, does it? You sort of think you're done, and then our man Tom, he's bowed up this afternoon. So yeah, it's racing, isn't it? It never stops. And I've come down from Cheltenham this morning. I was thinking on the way down, it's starting to feel close now. I think this is the week now. It's starting to feel close. I'm starting to get excited about it.
I've got previews coming out of my ears that I've been doing for our books coming up and ultimate guides and stuff. And ultimate sponsors representative, Pat Cooney, with us again.
Yes, looking forward to the show again. And as you see, the clock is ticking. Cheltenham awaits, and feels like every day there's a trial or a story about Cheltenham. So hopefully we'll get some rain, though. I think the trainers are all, I'd rather rain.
Yeah, well, it never rains in racing. It does pour, and the news has been absolutely hamming in. And this morning, the news broke that Tom Scudamore finally decides to quit the saddle. I say finally because he joins us on the line, one of the first ever What a Shout guests. Tom, your first winner was in 1998, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I was fresh out of school, just finished my GCSEs and managed to bag a winner at Warwick. So that was it. I remember it clearly.
Well, obviously you're bred to, to go in the saddle. Your dad sat in this studio as well. Tom came into the studio, had a great fun with that. Then, of course, there was a pandemic, and now these things like Skype and Zoom, they come up. But it means we can join you. Tom, it's a thrill to have you on. Thanks for coming. I imagine the phone is rather busy. So if it goes off at some point, we've already had your gran trying to call you and all that sort of thing. Well wishes coming in from everywhere. Tom, it's been a hell of a ride. First and foremost, why the decision on a Friday?
Look, the time is right. It had to be done at some point, and I've given it my absolute best shot. I've had a fantastic career. I've had great support all the way through, and look, it's time. It's not a retirement. It's time for a job change, and I've got to do something else. I've given it my very best shot. I've had so much fun. Had a lot of winners along the way, and time to do something else.
First ride then 1998 for Martin Pipe. It was, of course, your association through Pondhouse, taking over from AP McCoy and Dave, that it all... there have been some absolute thrills along the way. I remember, Tom, being a young analyst, writing about an old Hennessy when Madison du Burlay won a real race for the ages. That was really when you came onto my radar. Great houses at Pondhouse. Horses at Pondhouse, of course. What was the very pinnacle of them? I mean, we're talking about, let's bring you in, Steve-O, some of the great Pondhouse horses. You used to wear, Geoffrey Chombertans, things like that with some great... And Tom Portu, back-to-back Ultimas.
Yeah, there's been so many, and I think, Tom will remember the days of Martin Pipe, who's just one of the great trainers. You look back on the way his approach to training is just so unique, and I think his influence is still sort of, reflected on how current horses are trained. I mean, you look back on some of those horses they've had there, they're exceptional. And actually, it was I don't know if Tom Ira was there when Tom had the winner at Brinkley at Wincanton, which made him the 9th most successful jockey. And Tom didn't actually realise, to be fair, but he was. I remember one of the great quotes that Tom said is that, well, a fifth of them are Scudamore, so that sort of family element to it, you can tell. But yeah, an amazing yard, and what's next for David Piper? It's going to be a question we ask next week, I suppose.
Well, yeah, who knows? We might well do that. I mean, Brinkley, there's a horse. I imagine you were huffing and puffing and probably struggling to answer the questions after that one, weren't you?
Yeah, Brinkley has, you certainly earned your fee, but you don't mind those ones as long as they keep on responding. I suppose the one horse that always had to kick and push, but he did more for my career than anything else was Lochberg. He was superb. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I've had throughout my career.
Lochberg, there you go, the memories. Look, you can go onto the Racing Post website, check out, just put Tom Scudamore into the search bar and it's all there, of course, the news stories. Of course, it wasn't just for David Pipe, was it, of course? Colin Tizard was a great association, and the mighty Thistleback Crack.
Thistlecrack was a wonderful horse, wasn't it? But I tell you what, if I could go back to 2014 to ask Tom about a race, the Ascot Chase at Cheltenham. Now, 2014, we were all Ruby Walsh, Willie Mullins, Stevens. To this day, we were still worried about them. They rode the first winner, Vautour, 7-2. And they had Champagne Fever, who was favourite for the Arkle. They had Hurricane Fly, who was favourite for the Champion Hurdle. And Quevega was going to win her race. So we had these horrendous liabilities on Champagne Fever. And Tom Frissins was riding a horse called Western Warhouse. And it was a big race because the directors suddenly come into the trading room and say, right, which one is it and which one is it?
Denise Coates, of all people.
That's right. So we come into the race, and one of the first ones under pressure was Western Warhorse. So I said, don't worry about it. He's a 33-1 chance anyway. He wasn't likely to do us a favour. I wouldn't worry about it. And you look up with about 4 to go. I'm thinking, why is he still pushing and shoving on this? It's, Ruby's cantering. And then coming to the second last. Anyway, Western Warhorse, thank you, Tom Scudamore. You got up and won on the line. And there was actually a campaign in the office to get a statue of Western Warhorse and Tom Scudamore outside the front. It got declined, but you were very nearly statue worthy at Bet365 and still are spoken fondly of in this day.
He's not sure what to make of that. That's for sure. I mean, Western Warhorse was like, obviously you got the Arkle. You won the King George, you won the Stayers Hurdle, of course, on Thistlecrack as well. Was he the best horse that you rode? I mean, don't worry, they're not listening, these other trainers and owners.
Yeah, and the Thistlecrack, for ability-wise and over time, I suppose, 18 months, the best horse in the country, whether that was hurdles or fences. So he'd have been the most talented horse I rode. I was very lucky. I won on Well Chief in his first novice hurdle when nobody thought he was any good. And, he bolted up round Taunton, and so he was. We realised pretty quickly he was good. I've ridden lots of Grand Cru when he before his issues came to light. He was a very good horse as well. When he won his Feltham, he beat Bobsworth and Arco Conti most of the home straight at Kempton. So what they went on to achieve afterwards showed you what ability he had when he was correct. And look, there have been so many lovely horses to ride. I couldn't name them all, but Thistlecrack was, he was.
Oh, Tom, absolutely great to reminisce then. Look, that's the past. All right, you mentioned a job change. We're just thrilled that you've got out in one piece, Tom. I'm sure your family are, and all your friends, everyone connected to you, and you're going out on your own terms. What does the future hold then? I mean, there's a seat in here for you. You've seen this panel. It's an easy switch up if you fancy it.
Anytime. You speak to my agent and I'll be there.
They have to get the agent in every single time. The agent's probably watching this. We managed to sneak him in, under the guys at the moment. They have to mention typical jockey there. You're going to have to forget that one, I'm afraid. But don't worry, we can broker it. Pat's already, if there was no statue, I'm sure you'll get a fine fee. Are you going to follow in Dad's footsteps? Maybe look to start something up?
No, I don't think I'll be training. Look, I'd love to help Dad and Lucinda, and obviously my brother as well up in Hereford. I don't live very far away from David Pipe, so I'm sure I'll be in there every now and again and go and catch up. I'll still like to remain involved in racing because I'm a competitive person. What avenue that is yet, we'll wait and see. We've got lots of options. I'll be going into the media, got plenty of media work lined up, and also with my sponsorship with Coral, and I've been an ambassador for them for the best part of 10 years. that's going to continue. So I've got lots of things to look forward to. And say, people very good to me, and I just hope that my second career is as long and successful as my first.
Well, I'm thrilled for you, because all the viewers will be looking at that background and thinking, if he's going to have to stare at that kitchen a little bit longer, we fear for the man. But it's good to know you'll be out on the road. Of course, there are things that you've been asked to do, and Steve-O, we don't want to get too political, of course, but Tom was involved in something a little earlier last year, wasn't he? Yeah,
the whip is a massive talking point at the minute, and I'm on the front page show on Monday and here, and we'll probably discuss that. Tom was on, you're in the steering group, and it's obviously been a conversation that's continued to happen. Tom, at this point in time, you're bowing out. How do you feel the rules are, and what do you think the future of that whip should be looking like?
I think that it's up to our responsibility now, as with BHA and the jockeys. I think a lot of what the steering group did, very good work. They put 20 recommendations forward, of which basically 18 have worked. A couple needed tweaking, and it's to the BHA's credit and Brand Dunshee and those involved that they've listened and that they've kept the dialogue open. And I think there are sensible heads involved. When you have Brand Dunshee, you have Ryan Moore involved. They're bright, intelligent people that have racing's best interests at heart. Sometimes there's a lot of noise going on and around it, and maybe sometimes a little bit too much noise. But I think the basis of the rules are correct now. It's up to the BHA and the jockeys to police them correctly, and for the jockeys that want to take more responsibility themselves. So they're an intelligent group of people. I've spent 25 years with them. They're not as stupid or as ugly as they look, and they're up to the challenge. Anything that's put in front of them, they always rise up to it. But as I say, the main thing is important that at the moment, unlike in other jurisdictions, say Germany and obviously in Scandinavia, we still make the decisions on the use of whip as encouragement in British horse racing. And as long as we are still able to make those decisions, we've got to make it right for racing. And I think that they are, and they understand the challenges in front of them. And they have to make it work, because otherwise the decision to make these things, they're going to be taken away.
Well, Tom, thanks for a word on that. Thanks for coming on at short notice. It was quite literally just built into the running order. We called up Tom, and of course he's happy to do these things. And of course, when you go to your bowing out do, I'm sure it'll be a great do, a great occasion, a big poster review, of course, on your favourite winner. Don't forget, they can easily Photoshop these things.
I hope they do. I'll keep my gum shield in, that's for sure.
Marvellous. Listen, Tom, hopefully we'll see you back in the studio soon. A great friend to the Racing Road, and us here at What a Shout. Congratulations on a brilliant career, and all the best going forward.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone for all the support over the years. It's been much appreciated. We'll see you all on the other side.
Well, there you go. What a pleasure. An absolute gent of the weighing room, and great to have him on at such short notice. You can get in your favourite Tom Scudamore rides below at Thistle Crack Association. Was there a random one? I'm sure we'll read the comments below. Here's exactly what we've got coming up for you on today's What a Shout. We've had a lovely interview with Tom Scudamore. We also go to the hottest trainer in town, down to Winchester, Chris Gordon. Fruity interview with Chris coming up. Betfair Hurdle in the bag. Lovely jubbly. All the previews that we want to give you. Televised races from Haydock and Ascot as well. Before those all important, get it ready for the weekend winners. Right then. A treat for you. We had Nick Schofield on the show last weekend. He did the steering. Aucunrisque took out the Betfair Hurdle, as we know. Feather in the cap for What a Shout. Well, we thought we'd double down on that. And a trainer I've been very keen to get on this show since we started in 2019. Let's go to Winchester. It is Chris Gordon. I thought Nick Schofield was hot, and then you went and scorched him out. What a plot this was, seemingly.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me on the show. So, no, it was an exciting weekend, and all came good for once. So, we've enjoyed this week.
Let's concentrate on him. I mean, he would be up there with... I mean, are we now talking about the best horse you've ever trained here?
Yeah, we are looking towards that. Even if, what's lovely about Aucunrisque is, I was talking to Nick Luck the week before. Every time our horse has run, he's just pulled a little bit more out for us, and he's just been slow. Just been improving every run, which is quite rare. It's he's not the biggest in the world, but that little bit he gets a little bit more out each race.
You and Jenny have been training since 2007, I make it, Chris, and over 350 winners now on the board. Who would be the top of your pile as it stands?
Horses right at this moment. Probably Aucunrisque. We've had Annual Invictus has been a smashing horse. He's 144 now. Highway 102 has been an absolute cracker. He came back with a sinus infection the other day from that run. He's on antibiotics, but he's been a little trooper all the way through. And but I suppose right at this precise moment, Aucunrisque, we love him at the moment.
And of course, you were looking at the Kingwell, weren't you, for a quick attack, Martin Pipe style, but unfortunately, a bad bout of feed. How is he?
Yeah, well, we had a bad bail at Haylage, and he was probably just on the turn. And I had, in this game, we're up and down all the time. And Lord Baddesley won on Monday at Plumpton, and I was feeling smug. I allowed myself to feel smug for a split second, having a drink with the owner, thinking for a split second, I've got this game cracked. All of a sudden, I get a phone call. 2 horses have gone down with colic, and then we actually had 6 in total about an hour later. 6 horses colicking, and one of them was Aucunrisque. And it's a great game. It's a horse race in Shadow's life. It's a great level. As soon as we think we've got on top of something, it soon brings us back down. So I was very keen to go for the Kingwell. All of a sudden, I was looking at the entries, just to think, God, look, my horse is in great form. He was bouncing the next morning. So he thought, well, let's have a little go. And then, anyway, the colic has put a stop to us.
No greater leveller than the jumps game, as we all know, Chris. I've got James Stevens, who's the West Country correspondent, and Pat Cooney as well. No hotter trainer, Pat, for the bookmakers to be ducking at the moment. 7 out of his last 18 winners. It's his son with Paul Nicholls as well, Freddie. He's won 4 of his last 5.
Yep.
A bit menacing for you boys, isn't he?
Yeah, and the public are quick to latch on to the Red Hot stables, and likewise with Chris as well. And particularly Chris, your son Freddie, I see he's now at Paul Nicholls. One question I'd like to ask you is that, given that he's going to get the experience at Paul Nicholls, when he rides for you, does that mean you really fancy one with him taking that £7 claim off?
No, I'm just trying to get some miles on the clock with him. He's actually having a ride for Paul on Saturday, which is only his 3rd run. So, I always think with young jocks, you've obviously got to learn your trade. There's only a certain amount you can learn at home. They've actually got to be out there on the racetrack learning their trade. You don't learn how to ride in races by, obviously you can watch races, but you've got to be out there and get the experience. So I've been throwing him out there a fair old bit. Tom Cannon came to us when he was 18. He had his first winner under rules for us, and and the thing with Tom, it was just I started using him pretty much bang. We were chucking him out there, and he's very natural, but they have to be out there to learn.
I was on one at Lingfield earlier in the week, Chris, and I thought I had you cooked as the Neil King horse assumed control at the last. And it's fair to say, while he's an amateur, the young lad, he's got a bit of strength about him as well, because he got him back up beautifully on the running, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I'm quite brilliant. I always used to love a little wrestle with Freddie on a Sunday night after a few drinks after the pub.
That's the secret, is it? That's all we need to do.
So come on, boy, a little wrestle. And anyway, he probably dropped me now, so I've got to be a little bit careful. But no, I was really pleased because he got him back up when he looked beaten. Then the week before, I thought he was beaten on Friday at Kempton on Sami Bear. Did my tickety-boo on last Monday, and I thought he was very good on Annual Invictus. He did a great job, and he's looking strong now for a 17-year-old sporty boy.
So let's have a look for the festivals coming up then, Chris. That's what all the viewers out there will now be thinking. So Aucunrisque has got up to 147 over hurdles. They've cheekily moved up his chase mark, so he's 147, and at the moment, well, I think our analysis guys got the quotes for Steve-O and James Burnell that you gave it to our guys at Newbury. It looks like the Grand Annual. I think with Bet365, Pat, he's sitting as favourite for that at the moment as well, isn't he?
Yeah, principally because Chris has nominated that race for him. We're very much playing guess the runner in these types of races, and of course we had a similar type of horse with the Shunter, didn't we, a couple of years ago? He won over hurdles and then ended up winning over chases at Cheltenham, so it can be done. So he's just unexposed, isn't he? That's the big thing with him over fences.
Annual Invictus, we also know, is a Cheltenham winner, Chris. So what about those two? Have you decided targets yet? Come on, no one's listening. You can tell us.
No one's listening. So what right at this moment with Annual Invictus, I will have him in the Imperial Cup, the County Hurdle, and the Grand Annual. And we'll have entries in those. Have a little look. I'll also have Highway 102 in the Imperial Cup. Sandown wouldn't be a track that would suit them both if it's got softer game, but the way the ground is at the moment, if it stayed on the quicker side, Imperial Cup would be a very interesting race. Candy Hurdle also, and for 102. But so I'm going to keep pretty fluid at the moment.
You've got a couple of runs this weekend as well, Chris. No Friday runner, so I'm assuming we're keeping you from a decent lunch engagement. So let's whittle through it. Of course, we go back to Newbury on Sunday, but you have got one running at Wincanton. Does it press your luck? Who is? It's fair to say his form figures wouldn't be that inspiring, but he's coming back down the handicap, is he?
Yeah, press your luck. I'm just waiting on the bloods for him because he was a horse that had a tad of colic as well, but he didn't have any drugs which would stop him from running. So I'm just waiting for the bloods to go back on him to see if we're going to be rocking and rolling. So he's been 50-50 whether he's going to run at the moment. But I've just lost him a little bit. Last year, he looked good at the end of the season, and he looked very good at the beginning of this season. We went off to Chepstow, and he won nicely first time out over fences. So then we went off to Wetherby, and he whipped round as soon as the tapes opened up. And I thought, God, I haven't quite seen that from him before. He can be a little bit cheeky, and then we went to Exeter, and you could see halfway around his bottle for a fence has really gone. So he won't be going over fences back more. I've got him back over hurdles. What did we have? 2-3 runs back, and just trying to get his confidence back, So I don't know if he's ready to pop his little head in front at the moment, but hopefully at some point in the season he will be.
All right, so that's one runner for you on Saturday. Of course, we go back to Newbury on Sunday. A lot of people will be thinking, oh, what a treat that is. The ground will be quick as there. Are we running Diamond Egg?
Diamond Egg runs, yeah. I haven't had a look at the race yet. There wasn't many declared when I was playing around and declaring him, but I put a hood on him. He was very keen the other day at Plumpton when he ran. He jumped my first well, and do you know what? BJ fell off, and it was at the second, and it was one of those things. 9 times out of 10, BJ would have stayed on it, and he just caught his balance, and he toppled off. We all make mistakes in life, and it's just one of those. As soon as BJ came back, he said, "Oh God, I just fell off. I'm really sorry." And it's because if Tom wasn't available, BJ would have been back on Brendan Powell. So he would have been. That was terrible calling the fella BJ, but it's Brendan Jr. from back in the day. So anyway, so he will be. He'll run well, I hope. I'll put a hood on him to try and calm him down, but he's in good order, and off we go. And he's a Henrietta Knight Racing Club, so I hope he runs well. Or we'll probably be moved to Gordon or Willie in Ireland.
Yeah, well, quite absolutely. And we don't mind a nickname on this show, however spicy they are, Chris. And have we got anything else there?
I've got Alto. Whether he runs on is another thing. I've got to get there and walk the track, and it's quite. It's our job's very, very difficult at the moment with trainers and for Clark's courses, and but Keith is very straight on what the ground is, unlike some Clark's courses. But so Keith goes an email the week before the Betfair just saying that they're not able to water. He had us all primed that the ground is going to be pretty quick, and we smashed track records last week. So we haven't had any rain to try and ease the ground, and obviously they're not able to water. So I might got to churn him when I go to a place like this, but at least we've been warned, and I'll get out there and walk the track and see. This
obviously sounds something like you wish would be a blanket policy for Clark of courses out there. Look, one of the worst things that punters can do, and pundits, all of us really, is have a go at these guys, especially the way that the weather's been in the last 12 months. It's been madness, isn't it? So it's obviously a very difficult job. A bit more transparency, perhaps?
Yeah, David, look, we're all in difficult jobs, and the one thing with Clark's courses nowadays, there's less groundsmen on the track. There's no doubt about it. And some of them are fantastic, and they've been brought up to do it for many, many years. I do find some of them nowadays. Some of them have been fast tracked into it, and they just haven't got the experience. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be. I've been walking tracks for pointers back in my day when I was 17 years old. With point-to-point, you do quite a lot of leg injuries, and you really see, the ground isn't professionally looked after like it is under rules. So, I've been very interested in training horses from the age of 22. But, you do have experience with what horses can and can't take, and obviously the conformation of the horses, what they can and can't take. But the one thing you want to be able to do as a trainer is tick as many boxes as you can, but the biggest box to tick is the ground. And it's a nightmare when you get there and you've got Clark horses. it's good ground. It's on the easy side, and you get there, and it's like a muddy road, and you've got your owners that have gone there, and they've got a box for the day, and they've got a little lunch sorted out, and everyone's having a lovely day. And then suddenly I'm in that position where I'm going against a clock horse. No, this ground is really quick. You don't want to be running. And it puts us in a very difficult situation as trainers. So some of them are fantastic. Some of them are bloody moderate. It's the same as jockeys or trainers and every walk of life. There's good people and there's bad people. And although the bad people weren't mean to be bad people, they're just very good at their job.
You very kindly admitted pundits out of there as well in that. Chris, It's been a pleasure talking to you. You said to me before we went on, I don't want to get too political. We got something out of you. There's no smoke without fire, is there, and all that sort of thing. It's always been an absolute pleasure. Listen, it's going really well for you. 7-8 of your last 18. Our viewers, all they really want from this. Where's the 8th winner coming from for the Gordon stable?
I would be sweet on a horse called Highway 103 next week at Market Raisin.
Highway 1013, Highway 1020, Highway 1024. Of course, you've won the Dovecote a couple of times. You haven't got anything quick for that enough to land a third one. But we wish you well with that then. We wish you well with Cheltenham coming up. Aucunrisque, the dreams are alive. Thank goodness he's fine after that little bit of colic. And great, thanks for coming on, Chris. It's been an absolute pleasure. There you go then, Chris Gordon. Bit of fun as ever. It must be great fun to be an owner down there, Pat, mustn't it?
Yeah, he's the sort of guy that, if you wanted to be involved in a syndicate, you think, has Chris Gordon got anything there? They look good fun. And I've been with him in victory and defeat. He had the horse whipped round at the start of Wetherby on Charlie Hall Day. Didn't bat an eyelid at it. With me, I'd be lamenting the long journey up and the journey home. It's just, that's racing, get on with it, and just a marvellous character. So
press your luck, of course. He runs again tomorrow.
Yep.
Always easy to deal with?
Yeah, he is. And just before the Betfair Hurdle, we did sort of our price-wise quotes, finding out a bit sort of whether they're going. And Chris had said, we might go there. We might go to Doncaster for a novice chase. And he actually called me back about 20 minutes later and said, no, we fancy it. You could hear in his voice he'd thought about it and gone, we fancy it. So actually seeing him win, I thought, good for you, Chris. So great for him, and that's a happy days with that sort of money.
Yeah, who backed it down on the back of Scove talking about it? He said it was fancied, didn't it, Nick Schofield last week? Let's have a look at what the races are then this weekend. Let's go up to Haydock, shall we? Rendlesham Day, do we call it up there, Pat?
Grand National Trial Day more typically, but this is an intriguing race. It's just the 7 runners, and there's only £7 between them all on official ratings, so it's an intriguing race. At first glance, you could be forgiven for thinking it's a chase, because you've got Ashdown Lad, who last time we saw him was over the national fences. Itchy Feet, we know him as a chaser. So it's an intriguing race. I think the highest rated horse is Earn River of Nick Kent, who's roundabout favourite, about 11-4, 3-1. Just a tricky old race. Ashdown Lad, you presume they're keeping him to hurdles because the Grand National weights come out next week, and so they would rather not go for the Grand National trial and win that, for example. So looks like he might have Grand National aspirations, but still good enough to win this. I just felt the safest option was Green Book. Phoenicia Williams, Charlie Deutsch, back to form last time out. Less negatives about him. Can you trust Itchy Feet to run 2 back-to-back good races? You could have done 2 or 3 years ago. Maybe, maybe not. The honeymoon's over with me and him anyway, so I'll play safe with the Venetia's one.
Well, it is sort of wedding and funeral time with him, I suppose, isn't it? 14-1. It turns out all he wanted was a hurdle. But Ollie Murphy also got Thomas Darby in the switch of that to go back over fences, so great training. Listen, West Country correspondent. Now, there have been some great West Country correspondents at the Racing Post, all known more as tipsters. The game has changed a bit, and you're known as a newsman. But I know you're a bit of a shrewdie, but they don't. And they're judging you solely on winners here. So come on, what wins this?
Well, there's no West Country horses in this race, I don't think. So
there's your first.
No, I've gone for Ashdown Lad in this. I looked back, I thought Earn River, I saw he was favourite. He sort of fell over some of his hurdles, and I didn't think it was smooth enough. And Ashdown Lad ran a brilliant race at Warwick last time behind Glimpse of Gala, a massive improving horse who carried no weight. He travelled into the race like the winner, looked like he was going to win, just got tired. You probably imagine that Dan Skelton's thinking, right, Aintrie's the aim, so let's build up his fitness. You can imagine he's probably going to be a step fitter for this sort of target. And look, it's a pretty poor grade 2. You know, he might not be, people might think, well, he's a Grand National horse, but he might not have to be that good to win this.
Yeah, the first thing to say about this is usually a plough through the mud race. And it isn't, obviously, at the moment. It's a bit lively out there. More of that coming when we get to Ascot in a second. But he's a horse that does like a bit of dig. I was tempted to put up Whack-All here. He didn't win at Musselburgh last time in a race that they usually target at attempts, but I don't know, he's a good traveller, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a turn up here. It's a no strong bet race for me, this. Itchy Feet, I'm more forgiving than you are. All right, and he's got some good Haydock form. That Brave Man's game form looks better, and I know that he might now have a think about it and say, listen, I've won. Give me another couple of years in the wilderness, thank you. But it's just a very tricky one. I wouldn't be with Green Book, I have to say. I thought he had a pretty hard race at Sandown. Anyway, there we are. All right, let's move on, because Ascot comes up. It's a real jewel in the racing crown this Saturday there. And there's a lovely handicap coming up, isn't there? 225. And a fierce market.
Absolutely, the Swinley handicap, and isn't it nice to have a 14-runner handicap? You know, and
fingers crossed, man.
Well, at the moment, and they're great to plough through. And of course, it wouldn't be an Ascot handicap without Regal Encore. I think he's having his 18th race at Ascot. Many people haven't been to Ascot 18 times in their lives. Never mind being a racehorse. What would be favourite? Don't know. I thought Captain Orr will probably end up favourite, because this horse has got a sort of mystique about him, hasn't he? When he's out of form, we're all waiting for a sign. And he showed plenty enough last time out. He's well handicapped. He did go up a couple of pounds, but he's still well handicapped on overall balance. So I can see Captain Orr going off favourite. I can put one up that we laid it in the office this morning, actually. Dorking Lad of Gary Moore. Okay. We were 25 that, and he's now clipped into 12. He only got as far as the first last time out, so he's one to have a second look at. Lascarlin of Venetia's. I wasn't sure about the ground with that. And I've come back to the two Harry Fry horses, Phoenix Way and Revels Hill. And I think they're both very likeable.
You're not going to tip Revels Hill again, are you? Every time it runs, you put this up.
Well, I am in the Revels Hill fan club, yeah. I think Phoenix Way is the type to go very well. Revels Hill, forget last time. He was at Sandown, a horse, I think, fell and it brought him down. And that kind of knocked him off sync for the three railway fences, and he never got going in it. He's got pieces on for the first time. He just looks like a horse who's probably better than 137. Admittedly, my Itchy Feet honeymoon is over. I'm keeping the relationship going with this one for a few more races, I think. So I think it's a Harry Fry 1-2, Revels Hill to beat Phoenix Way.
OK, what about you, James?
I'm in Revels Hill fan club as well, I'm afraid. Yeah, I know.
Well, he's West Country, I suppose.
Well, yeah, he is, to be fair. And I like a lot of what Pat said, and his run in the London National was just so disastrous. Just every bit of luck just went against him. So you can draw a line through that. Before that, he was second at Ascot to Your Darling, who is a really, really good horse on his day.
Yeah, he hasn't really gone on with it, has he? But no, it looked like a good race.
When it's his day, he's a very good horse. And that day at Ascot it was. It will say the margin was something 4, but he was eased down, so he was beaten by a long way. But this horse was 2-5. He travelled into it pretty well and just got sort of outpaced. So imagine step up to 3 miles fine. And if you go back to last season, he beat the Two Amigos at Taunton on soft grounds. You know, that's a strong piece of form now. Cheek pieces are added as well, so interesting.
Flexing your tipping muscles all of a sudden, aren't they? Well, we asked him to do it, that's good, but they haven't mentioned the winner, and they've got the wrong Harry Fry horse, because Phoenix Way wins this. I was tempted to put up Captain Orr. Do you know that 10-year-olds have won 5 of the last 10? Random stat. But both the 10-year-olds at the top of the market. Pesky traders you've got, haven't you? He was eye-catching last time at Cheltenham. Watch it back in your members' club. And I thought to myself, there's something at the festival for him. Of course, this is his race. You remember last season he won under a fantastic ride from Kevin Brogan over a little bit further at the track. That was in January. He's being bought. This is perfect. He's first and second in these 2 runs. I think he'll be fine on the ground. Lorcan Williams has had a ride on him, and he's finished second on him before. That was at Ascot. All the stars are aligning for him, I think. Yeah. Captain Orr, my worry about him. Well, he came back to form last time, and he's still handicapped to win. Of course, it was this time last year that he broke Kitty's light heart, of course, at Kempton coming up next weekend. I imagine that must be a big pointer for Kitty if he's running here, by the way. Watch the space. Ascot, he's finished 4th there when the ground was too testing for him. My worry about him is he does seem better on slightly less forgiving tracks. Yeah. And it's going to be a hell of a ride from James Tudor to get him involved at the second last, I think. Look, if they may well pull it off, he's worthy of his place at the top of the market, but Phoenix Way sees him off. Right, there you go. One of my best bets of the weekend. Let's move on. Back up to Haydock, are we?
Yes, the Grand National Trial, and not on Haydock heavy ground. So are you a Bristol de Meyer on the basis it doesn't say heavy? Well, it'll make life easier for him, won't it? If he's got to carry 12 stone, he's better off carrying 12 stone on good to soft than he is on heavy. But it doesn't say heavy, so I can't see how you could fancy him, really. And you can go down the card, really, can't you? You can look at some of these horses and think, well, I'm not sure the ground's going to be testing enough for them. Quick Wave pulled up last time, but that was the Welsh National. So you have to give that one some credibility. But again, that's there at 11 to 8. And usually Venetia Williams is running 3 in a race. I don't remember running 3 in a race for a while. And the best one is probably Fontaine Collange, who I thought ran okay at Kempton. 3 miles, good ground, flat track. It's more of a Haydock slogger, isn't he? So he's got his circumstances. We have laid Friday morning, we're recording, Snow Leopardess, we were 16, and we've clipped that to 12.
Well, I'll talk about forgiving punters out there on
Yeah,
that one. I mean, we all love her, but...
Yeah, but you can go off her, can't you? She's not quite showed enough, but I could see why people thought, well, hang on, 16's a bit rude. 12's probably a nearer price, and so on and so forth. I actually, during the week, we laid Small Present of Sue Smith, and that is a good ground horse. And I think maybe punters who were back in that were thinking, well, if it is going to be good ground, Bristol won't turn up, Quick Wave won't turn up, and so on.
Sure.
But that hasn't happened. So I've come down to 2. Omar Moretti, Alex Hales, Sean Bowen. Alex Hales having a good time of it. Sean Bowen, always good value for money. And do I say this every time it runs? Not a Chance. I can show some love for that one.
Yeah.
Who showed a bit more last time out. And that strikes me as a well-handicapped horse. They're 10-10 and 10-6. So I would rather start at the bottom of the handicap and work up, even though it's not Haydock heavy.
I think he's mentioned the winner amongst those horses. Do you?
Yes, I think Omar Moretti's got a good each-way chance.
Hang on, is this a clean sweep of the Omar?
But an each-way chance was on my main pick. I'll start by a bit of a rant. This is the Grand National Trial, but the weights are out next week.
So this isn't the front page, right? I mean, this is a tipping show.
So it's a trial race which has no trial, basically. I have no idea why they've done that. It never used to be the way, but here we are. Fontaine Collange for me. 3 good runners for Venetia in there. Charlie Deutsch has chosen this. Looked really, really good when beating the big breakaway. A horse I absolutely adore. And breaking my heart then. And that was a really good performance. And as Pat sort of said, just 3 miles flat track isn't what this horse wants.
Yeah.
A bit more of a test. And I feel that they've given this horse a little bit of a break, might come back and win it. But I'm Moretti in each way chance, so I'm not going to.
Right, shall we go to Wincanton? I remember a couple of seasons ago you were there when Goshen decided to show his true colours again, didn't you? You're not there tomorrow?
Not there tomorrow. 2 years he's shown his true colours there, to be fair. But I remember last year him beating Adagio. That was a brilliant race. That was a proper, because the atmosphere there was quite good as well. I mean,
4 runners though.
Well, yeah. Interesting race. Interesting. It doesn't always get that much, and I think the days of it sort of being.
He used to run very, very good horses in this race, so
it's been a while, but
it has been a while. But listen, I don't know. It's all cyclical, this sort of stuff, isn't it? What's going to win according to the market?
Well, it's very tight between them. Your First Street is narrowly favourite from Nappers Hill, and I like to move it. Now, all 3 of these ran last time out over 2.5 miles at Cheltenham. Completely different scenario. This is only 1.7 miles, remember, it's not even 2 miles on good ground right-handed. And I thought all 3 of them ran poorly in that same race. I actually backed I Like to Move It, thinking he looks like he'll step up in. He looks.
I think he's the one here.
Yeah, I thought when he moved
they'll
up,
attack again, won't they?
Yeah.
Surely.
I
They
think
won't get the trip.
well, he's moved it up in. I presume you're going to be positive, and they kind of held it up. And I thought, I would have thought you'll find out if you stay. And I thought he ran the worst of those 3. I have to mention Global Citizen, but nevertheless, it's a surprise if he won it, as good as he is. And I just think I Like to Move It. He's surely better than that, Cheltenham, is it? And I just felt at prices, he's at 3 to 100 to 30. I thought they all ran below par, and I thought I Like to Move It. I was a fan of him prior to the run last summer. I thought he looked a progressive, and I suppose Global Citizens will probably lead. He spends his life leading, doesn't he? So they won't be hanging around. I thought I Like to Move It. I'd rather back him at his 3 to 1 than the others at 6 to 4-ish.
You're happy to forgive him?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am as well, I have to say. He has won around here, of course.
Yeah.
He'll like the ground. I think they'll attack. They'll probably get a lead from Global Citizen. This is this sort of race now where it used to be a champion hurdle trial. You know, it's obviously a grade 2 in its own right and all that sort of stuff. But this used to be the stepping stone. When you've not got none of the big hitters in the division, it's questionable at the moment how many we've got of them away from 2 potentially. You have to find the right time to be with these horses, don't you? In First Street, while he leads the market, he's becoming one of those pivotal horses for collateral form. This is Marie's Rock form, Dashiell Drasher. Yeah. This is the Gold Tweet, isn't it? State Man, you know. So, but I think the better the race, the better he performs. He struggled to beat Gavega, didn't he? Not Gavega. What's the Nichols mare in the Jerry Fieldon when he won? She's done
Griftana,
Grivatana.
yeah.
Sorry,
Yes.
Nearly. And I think you put him in a Grade 1 and he could run all right without winning. I think he'll struggle in this. I think he's got a little bit going on there, and I think I like to move it. We'll see him off. Napper's Hill, of course, beat So Royale around this course, but So Royale hasn't done a lot for that form since, has he?
No, I'm with you about I like to move it because I think you're right, and I think this horse has got experience at Wincanton, which is it's not a course, it's not a track you really need course form, but it helps because it's quite quirky. I think this is going to be the sort of race where they probably go a bit slow in front, and it's about who's quickest from that turn in, and I think I like to move it. It's actually quite good. His finishing speed in the Greatwood to see off Gin Coco, a horse I really like, was well handicapped off
good
a
horse.
massive weight, was quite impressive, and he's done that quite a few times. He won a race, I think he won the Supreme Trial at Cheltenham and Washington, and then he didn't quite go on, but he was quite a big hyped horse at the time. So I think him. I mean, Napper's Hill, I think Napper's Hill wants 2 mile 2, which is very unfortunate for him. And if they want to win, they'll probably do what they tried to do when they won the Elite Hurdle, which is just make it a really good gallop out in front.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think I like to move it for me, and I think he's a bit of value compared to the others.
Fast and Furious, which is what we're doing with these race previews. There's your first clean sweep then, the Madagascar horse. I like to move it, wins the Kingwell. Let's go for the biggie then. It's Grade 1 time, it's Ascot Chase, it's 3:35. Lots said about the ground this week. They have been able to water. We're hoping they all turn up. It's the return of Shishkin, we should say, but also the return of last year's winner, Fakir D'Oudairies, who I assume are dominating the market, the pair.
Yeah, Fakir is favourite, and he won well last year, and we always presumed he was going to turn up and defend the crown again. He's around about 6-4. The market was quite interesting. When we got the final decks, we looked at the liabilities. No one had backed Shishkin, and there he was in the final decks. Well, we're probably late. And then we weren't laying him at all, so we went 3, didn't lay that. So we went 7-2, saying, well, let's see how the market is. And eventually we started laying him at 7-2. And it comes down to, every horse has a price. And Shishkin, you could say, well, it was a bit of an insult to put him in at 7-2. You know, the only time he was bigger than 7-2, he won the Supreme Novice at 6-1 back in his hurdling days. He's now popular. He's now popular in the 5-2. I can see him settling as second favourite. I think Pictorial will go off third favourite. But Shishkin, I'm not so bothered about the trip. We all had him down as a possible King George on Boxing Day winner over 3 miles, didn't we, at some point in his career? You just having to be lenient with 2 runs as opposed to 1 run. All right, he's £10 in hand on official ratings. I can let him go, personally. And I think the race sets up well for Pictorial, who is an ideal, very much like Surname, with 2 miles 5, great jumper, free traveller. If he gets an uncontested lead, he could really put it to them. I think he has a bit to prove on the book, but I think if he's going to win a race like this, a Grade 1, it will be this race, Ascot, goodish ground, 2 miles 5, getting a freebie up front.
Well, we've heard from Pat then. Just a reminder for you, if you've not seen, you might have done by the time you're watching this show. 6 o'clock, Friday night, tonight basically, if you're watching this on Saturday. It was last night. We popped down to Seven Barrows in the week. We sent Dave Lowe down there with the cameras and he spoke to Nicky. He had a lot to say about Shishkin and Constitution Hill in particular. Do not miss that. Coming your way on our YouTube channels. Look on our socials as well. It will be out tonight. And he gives you the word on what might happen at the Cheltenham Festival as well. It might not be the race you're thinking of as well. This, of course, will have a huge bearing on the Ryanair. No Allaho now, as we know, the news is broken on that. Fakir D'Oudairies missed the race. I don't think they minded him having too tough a race here last year because they knew they weren't going to go and take on Allaho, who he always sees the backside of by some distance. Now he's not going. I feel almost certain that Fakir D'Oudairies has to go to the Ryanair. He's placed around Cheltenham. He's won there over hurdles, all that sort of stuff, placed in championship races. I think he wins this. I think Shishkin, at that sort of price, you just don't know what you're going to get, really. I wasn't convinced with him at all in the Tingle Creek. It might well be a distance thing. Yes, he has the latent ability to be one of the best horses in the country. We know that. But I'm going to take him on. I think that Fakir will win this. Pictorial is fascinating, by the way. He will get the ground, and this could well be his cup final. But we're going to see a shake-up for the Ryanair market. We might yet see a shake-up for the Champion Chase market. You never know. What do you think wins, James Stephens?
I'm going to give Shishkin another chance.
Hey.
I've sort of looked through, sort of watched his race back, and of course it's disappointing, and he didn't quite fire. But I just wonder whether we're all a little bit guilty of saying, well, Altior sort of, he had a season where it just didn't sort of happen for him. And if we're thinking about Shishkin, Shishkin's had half as many runs as Fakir D'Oudairies. So the idea that he's old and he's sort of done it, I'm willing to give him another chance because
What about the ground for him? I'm going to just play devil's advocate.
Yeah, I think the fact they've been able to water will make a big difference. I don't think it's going to be.
We'll put the Thames on for him.
Well,
He's got a great record on soft and heavy. I've had a very good look. He
yeah,
had one on good, albeit not in this sort of class race.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ground will. I think good horses get on ground, and I don't think it'll be as bad as we're fearing. To be honest with you, I'm not sort of scared of that. What I'm scared of is that whether he's back to his best. But the thing is, if we are saying that, okay, this is a Gold Cup horse, this is a horse that clearly needs 3 miles. I've got it here. Nico said another half mile would suit. That was in when he won over hurdles.
He's had his wind tinkered with, of course.
All the evidence would suggest that this horse clearly isn't a 2-miler. The fact he's been winning all those races is because that's how good he is. If this is a Gold Cup horse, if Galopin de Champs had run in Tingle Creek, where would he have finished? You know, that's what we're looking at. So there's just a way of thinking, okay, maybe he just desperately needs further now. He just desperately needs it. And of course, he's probably not as good as he
You believe?
I'm going to give him another chance. I picked Dory as interesting, and whether he's good enough is the question mark, but I think his form, because Miller's Bank seems to appear in all these races. Oh, good old Miller's Bank, a cracking run.
Like the ground as well.
Yeah, like the
mentioned
ground.
for Eye Right and First Flow, of course, has
Yeah,
got top form.
definitely. And he seems to be beating him just a little bit more convincingly every time, so the suggestion is that he's improving, and I think it'll be a classic Paul Nicholls sort of, go on, Harry, away you go, get out in front, see what can beat you. Is Shishkin fit enough? Is Fakir D'Oudairies what he was? And if Harry Cobden gets his breathers in on the right time, which is very important at Ascot, he could run away with it. But no, Shishkin gets one more chance for me.
Oh, there you go. And we had to give that a bit of welly, didn't we? What do you like then? It's a race for the ages. Okay, this is, proper showpiece stuff. Do not miss it. 3:35. They're your final big race previews. What wins? Get them in below. Okay, it's nap time here on What a Shout. Before we do that, in the spirit of giving, festival time coming up, we've got a nice little free bet section for you. Go to www.racingpost.com/free bets. Go and check this out. Loads of free bets out there for you to take advantage of this weekend and going forward. We're going to keep plugging this for you. /free bets. Maybe you'll put them on the naps coming up. Pat Cooney, where are we going?
I'm going to Ascot at the 3 o'clock Irish Hill, Paul Nicholls, Harry Cobden. Progressive 5-year-old. He's easy to find in the form book. He's been placed second in his first 2 runs of the year, and he won his last 2 races. And I like the way he won last time at Fakenham. It was a 14-runner handicap at Fakenham. You don't get many double-figure fields at Fakenham, so it was a right hot race, and I could rank it up. It's not your typical Fakenham, oh, he's now going to Ascot. I thought it was a real strong race in its own right. He always looked like winning with Bryony aboard that day. He's gone up 6 for that win. He's only a 5-year-old. The ground is right, the trip's right, everything's right for him. He's a progressive 5-year-old, and he's number 7 on the race card, and I think he's still a very well handicapped horse. So
we had Tom Malone on the show last season, do you remember? And before he ran, we asked him for the 4-year-olds that he was looking forward to, and this is the one he put up.
Correct.
It's just taking him a little bit of time to find his feet. Strong case made for a Paul Nicholls runner. James Stephens.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a horse we discussed earlier, Ashtown Lad for Dan and Harry Skelton up in the Rendlesham, the 205 at Haydock. I just feel that this horse is getting fitter, and it will be fitter from his last run. Travelled so well through his last race, just beaten by a horse that was carrying less weight than him on the day. This looks a fairly open race, and I just think he'll be too good for him.
I'm going to forgive you for getting the wrong horse in the 225 at Ascot. Again, Revels Hill, forget that one, Pat Cooney, because Phoenix Way will be taking this out in the famous green and gold silks of JP McManus. Lorcan Murtaugh taking off a handy £3. There is your weekend treble. Trixie, play them how you want. Well, sadly, that is all we've got time for. A bumper show, an unexpected bumper show. Sayonara, Tom Scudamore, what great memories we had. And once again, an absolute pleasure to go down to Winchester as well for the spicy Chris Gordon. A couple of easy weeks coming up for Chris, but red hot. Well done, James Stephens. Your debut is now complete.
Thank you very much. Yeah, looking forward to it. And the road to Cheltenham is certainly starting now.
Yeah, well, so we'll just tally up your winners and we'll see if you get to come back or not.
See if I'm allowed in on Monday.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
There was a statue potentially to Tom Scudamore at Bet365 headquarters. If you do all losers, you might be the front runner for that coming up. Pat, great to have you back.
Well, we get the architect on the case just to...
That's absolutely, honestly, James is a very good judge. All right, great, Pat, good fun. Are you back next weekend or off travelling?
Yeah, back in the studio, all being well, train strikes permitting and so forth. So, yeah,
Marvellous.
and another big week ahead next week.
So, of course, Kempton coming up next weekend. Adonis, what have we got? Dovecote, of course, big handicap time as well. We're warming up for Cheltenham, and great to have you warm with us this afternoon here on What a Shout. Don't forget, 6 p.m. tonight. Extra content coming loads your way in the lead up to the Cheltenham Festival. Loads of stable tours, and primarily the Master of Seven Barrows talks to us. All the updates, Shishkin, Constitution Hill, Marie's Rock, you name them, they're all there, aren't they? You can get the first word on that. 6 p.m. tonight on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to download the free must-have Racing Post app as well, which just got better. Staying ahead of the field, of course. Let's have a look at the talent coming up. Rosie Margerson, even she can work it. And you get absolutely everything on there. We're going to build on it as it goes on. There's Keels. Everything you need then. Stay ahead of the field. You can do that on the Google Play Store or the App Store itself. An absolute must-have. And it's free. Every race then. There you go. What a lovely advert that is. Download it for free. There you go. Went on a little bit longer than I thought as well. All right, which this show has not. But myself, Dave Orton, now signing off. Another big weekend. Good luck with all your selections. Don't forget to gamble responsibly. That's our MO at Bet365 and, of course, here at the Racing Post. All the sport out there. Enjoy it.